All right. Hello and welcome back to the Education Breakdown. Today's episode, we are talking all about magnet schools. We're going to be talking about what magnet schools are, where they originated, and just cover all the things that parents need to know about them. And today I am joined by Tamani Powell. She works for Wake County Public Schools in their Office of Magnet Programs. She is the magnet guru. So we are so lucky to have her here today. And towards the end of today's episode, we'll be talking specifically about Wake County Public Schools logistics around applying to magnet schools. So, if you live in Wake County or you're thinking of moving to the Raleigh area of North Carolina, that part will be specifically for you. So, Tamani, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. And this is the perfect time for me to be here to prepare students or families for looking at our magnet schools for the next school year. If you're new to Wake County, we do have some magnets that still have a few priority seats. So there's that option. And we are just coming off of our 50-year celebration of Magnet Schools of America, which is our national umbrella organization. So we're just back from that conference highlighting magnet schools being the very first schools of choice in the United States, and we've been at it for 50 years. Next year, Wake County will have been at it for 50 years. So we are very excited about magnets right now. It's magnet season.
It's magnet season. This is a good time to be talking about it.
It is.
Awesome. Well, Tamani, let's start by having you introduce yourself to us. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into this work, and then tell us a little bit about what it is that you do today.
Okay, sure. So I started, my name is Tamani, and I have been working in the Office of Magnet Programs since 1998. I started as a program coordinator, meaning that I worked with one of our magnet themes to implement the theme, to help teachers get trained, to recruit students to the program. And so I've been in the Office of Magnet Programs since that point, but I've moved up. So now I am a director in the Office of Magnet Programs. I work most closely with our Office of Student Assignment on application and selection, the algorithm, all of the things that kind of help us attract students and assign students to magnet schools. So that's what I do now. I do kind of macro marketing. I do parent information sessions, try to get out in the community and be sure that our community is aware of magnet schools and the choices that we offer. I started as a teacher in Franklin County, which is where I'm from, and then I taught at Oberlin when it was still Daniels. And I loved teaching in a magnet school. Like I thought, oh my God, I am in heaven here because I really got to be innovative in my teaching. I got to do some different things with my teaching. I loved the kids, but I got to do something that was fun, relatable, that still supported their academic growth, like all the things. I loved it. And then I went into administration and then I moved into the magnet office. So I've been in magnet schools for a long time. And I love the idea of having these programs that are attractive and engaging and really prepare students to be thinkers and innovators and leaders. I love being able to do that as a teacher, and I love being able to help families kind of find a right fit for their child.
Awesome. Yes, you have been in this game a long
A
time.
long
You are a
time.
wealth of knowledge for us. We're so lucky to have you.
Thank you.
So let's start by laying the foundation for our listeners about what magnet schools are, just so we're all on the same page. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about why were magnet schools first developed? You were just talking about that 50th year kind of
Yes.
anniversary. So why were they developed to begin with? What is their purpose? And maybe how they've changed over time.
So magnet schools were begun nationally and locally as a way to promote or to create integrated schools. So they come off of the Brown versus Board decision that schools can't be separate or equal, and so we're really going to try to integrate our schools. And so Wake County Schools picked up that mantra, and instead of doing some forced busing that you saw in other districts, Wake County decided to use magnet schools to encourage integration voluntarily. And so we, along nationally as well, were the first schools to provide choice. And so we took innovative programming and put it in certain schools. Hunter was one of our first schools in 1977. And then in 1982, the superintendent at that time created a whole schools of choice program here where we put magnet programs in like 28 different schools as a way to voluntarily attract families to those schools to promote a diverse student population in the magnet schools. And so for years, nationally and locally, that has continued to be the focus of magnet schools. It's an opportunity to provide some innovative educational opportunities, some choice in the community that also helps us create schools that have diverse student populations so that students can learn from each other as well as learning academically. They learn to see the world in different ways through a different lens. They just learn to see things differently, which is now kind of our motto in Wake County Schools is this is an opportunity for students to engage in some educational programming. It is academically based, but that really allows them to learn and grow in a different way or in a way that really works for them. And so we still try to provide that choice. Even 50 years later, some things have changed. Our purpose still, though, is to try to create a healthy, balanced student population in the magnet school while also offering these amazing opportunities, innovative learning styles that you won't get in a non-magnet school. So I try to help parents understand everybody has to learn to read. But the way you learn to read can be different, and the opportunities that you have can be different in how you demonstrate that learning. And that's kind of what magnet schools do. They provide innovative ways to receive the information as well as to demonstrate your learning. And for some kids, it's the right fit for them. For some families, it's exactly what they're looking for, what they want their child to be exposed to. So that's still what we offer. We have broadened our number of schools. We now have 61 magnet schools in the Wake County Public School System. When magnets first began, we didn't have early colleges. Now we have early colleges that are also just options for students who are looking for that type of learning environment. And so there have been some changes, but I think our core belief in having a healthy, balanced student population in the magnet school is still one that we really focus on as we provide these academic opportunities for students.
Okay. So you talked about a couple of kind of specializations, right? That these schools kind of offer a specialization or a unique way of approaching learning. I'm wondering if you could tell us about some of the specializations that stand out to you. If you can kind of just give people a sampling, if you will, of like what kinds of things are we even talking about?
Sure. So probably our most popular theme. We call the program that's in the school or the way that instruction is delivered a theme. And probably our most popular and definitely our most long-standing is our gifted and talented theme, where students can participate in just a huge array of electives that are in all curricular areas. So part of their day is spent in core, language, arts, science, social studies, math, and part of their day is spent still with that core instruction at the base, but they have opportunities in visual and performing arts, in different languages, in math electives, science electives, tech electives. So if you have a student, and most of us do as kindergartners, we really don't know what they want. GT is a great place to start, which is probably why it's so popular, because students can really dabble at first in different things and then figure out what's their gift or talent, and then maybe skew their selections to an area that really supports their learning or is really engaging for them. And so gifted and talented is one of our longest standing and most popular programs. However, we have programs in language immersion. That's kind of a newer theme for us, but now we have several elementary, middle, and two high schools that are offering language immersion, which is just like it sounds. Students are immersed in a second language. That's how you learn to speak your language. Someone speaks it to you, you learn to speak it back as a small child. And so we have immersion programs that begin in kindergarten and go all the way up through high school. That's another really exciting program, new for the district, and it has a lot of academic progress. When you look at like brain research, there's a lot of good brain research around learning a second language. So that's becoming very popular, especially as our world becomes more global, more
Mhm.
interactive.
Mhm.
It's important to have that skill. And so we have dual language programs. We also offer themes that are focused on leadership and just developing leadership skills, kind of those soft skills that make you successful in life. Think win win, put first things first. So it's based on Covey, and we have several schools that integrate that learning with some other themes. So leadership is huge for us. We have STEM schools, science, technology, engineering, and math. So we've got an engineering school. We've got entrepreneurial design. We've got other design programs. Those are opportunities for students to really think differently or think the way an engineer might think. How do you solve a problem? And you identify the problem. And so lots of different ways to help students learn and carry that learning throughout their life. And then, of course, we have, I mentioned earlier, early colleges, which are very small high schools. In ninth and 10th, students take all honors courses. In 11th and 12th grade, they are taking college courses, receiving college and high school credit. The college credits they earn are free and transferable to a UNC system school. So for that student that knows, I know I want to go to med school or vet school, or I know I want to go into cosmetology, I want to become an EMS, I want to work on cars. It's a fabulous place to start on that career path early. And so students who go to our early colleges and then continue at a four-year school can graduate from that four-year school maybe in 2.5 years, because they can take up to 60 credits with them to their four-year school. Incredible opportunity. And for that child who really knows, I know what I want to do. I know I want to be an engineer. I know I want to be in the medical field. It's an amazing opportunity. So most of our magnet themes start in elementary, and there's a pathway from elementary to a magnet middle to a magnet high school. So if you start in a magnet elementary, you can follow that theme or that pathway all the way up to high school. I have a senior this year
Oh.
who started in a magnet elementary. She's had the same basic group of friends from elementary through middle school up to high school. And they've had a wonderful learning experience the whole way, but she's also had a great group of friends the whole way up. It's been fabulous.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So I want to go back to one of the things you talked about, the gifted and talented schools that you said were really popular. For parents who might be interested but thinking, does my child have to be labeled as gifted? Do we have to be like an AIG student? Can you answer that for us?
I certainly can. So in the elementary grades, we don't use any type of academic information in selection. Everybody, our belief is every student and everybody has gifts and talents. And sometimes you just need to find yours. So the gifted and talented program or theme offers that opportunity for students to participate in this huge array of electives so they can find their gift or talent. You may think my child's gift is running through the house with a teddy bear, and that might be true. However, when they come to kindergarten, even they get to take different electives. And so perhaps they use the running in an elective, perhaps they take a PE elective, or they take an elective where they might make a teddy bear. So some of the things that you see at home that you think, is that a gift? It certainly is. And so that's going to be an opportunity for students to take some electives, to find, to refine, to grow, to develop that gift or talent. So we don't look at any academic information in elementary, nor do we do it in middle school. Our middle schools also offer a program called AIG Basics, which is academically or intellectually gifted basics. That speaks to how those students in that middle school will take their core classes, but there's still GT electives that every student can take it has nothing to do with your grades. Again, it's just an opportunity to grow or explore. My son took some electives, and at first I thought, oh my God, but he really loved them. My initial thought was, why are you taking that? I've never seen you interested in money or finance or anything. So I didn't think he had a gift in that area, but he loved stock market. He loved that elective. He took a finance elective. And so even though I didn't see it, it was a wonderful time for him to really explore that topic and go, oh, that is something I really like. So I think it's just an amazing opportunity for students of all levels to find something they like and maybe grow in that area.
Yeah. And I mean, when you just mentioned like a class about the stock market, I'm like, I never had a class about the stock market. Like, how cool is that?
Right.
So,
And that was
not
in middle
just,
school. That was in
yeah,
he took that his seventh grade year, and he was like, Mom, I love it. And then he would tell me all these things about stock market.
it's right. It's really cool. And like, whether that becomes, your passion and your drive for life or not, but just this exposure to being able to learn about really cool things that I feel like a lot of us didn't have the chance to learn about in a traditional school.
That's correct. And that's the attraction piece. That's what we use to attract families to these schools, to create that healthy and balanced population.
Yeah, love that.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I think we have a good foundation of like what the magnet schools are, kind of how they operate, why they're there. So I know that you spend a lot of time talking about the logistics of magnet schools. So this is the part where it's going to be specific to the people who are interested in Wake County or living in Wake County. There are questions about applying for magnet schools. How do I rank the schools? What is a second round application? I think you mentioned that earlier. So let's start by having you outline the basic process that parents should know if they're interested in applying to a magnet school.
Sure. So let me start with, in order to submit an application for a magnet school, you must be enrolled. That does not mean attending, enrolled in your base Wake County Public School System school first, and have an active student ID number for the next school year before you can apply. So I just want to lay that out first. Enrolled does not mean attending. So, for example, if you have a student that's already in a charter school or a private school, or you've already had them homeschool, you
Hmm.
just have to enroll for the next school year, which does not impact their current attendance. And if you don't get in, or if you do and you change your mind, you can always unenroll. So I
Hmm.
want people to know here, this is an opportunity for them to learn about our schools. We have amazing programs, as I've mentioned. And so I don't want people to think, oh my God, if I enroll, I have to go. No, you just have to enroll. Doesn't impact your current assignment. It's just so that we know you fully intend at least to apply. So
Hmm.
you have to enroll first, get your ID number, and then you can submit an application. The application period is pretty long. It runs from October, mid-October, to late January. Then I would encourage you to tour, although touring is not a part of the application process. So if you never tour, it's okay. But I encourage parents to tour.
Hmm.
After you enroll and get your student ID number, you can submit your magnet application anytime during that application window. So you've got mid-October to late January when you can apply anytime. Selection is not based on, or does not include, or does not consider when you submit that application. You can submit an application, you can change your mind and say, Tamani, I don't want to apply anymore, and I will withdraw your application. You can put it back in if you want. You can do anything you want. You can change your schools, change your rankings, anything within that application window. The application allows you to select 5 schools, but you don't have to select 5. You can just identify 1 or 3. You rank them in the order that you want to be considered for them.
Okay.
If you really only want 1, just put the one that you really want. Because what I don't want you to do is rank a second and a third, and you were selected for the second or third, and then that you're not happy. I don't want that. So only rank the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 that you really, really want to be considered for, that you really would like for your child to attend.
Okay.
I usually tell families, like when you're making your rank list, put your base school in there and then only rank those schools that you like better than your base school. If you're not selected, you're going to remain assigned to that base school, or you can stay with your charter school or your private school or go back to homeschool or whatever. But I would not rank a school that I didn't like better than my base school or my current school. So that's just a little word of wisdom. The other thing is, it doesn't help you be selected if you only list 1 school. So there's this rumor that if I only list 1, I'll get that 1. That's not true. And so list all that you want to be considered for. If you only want to be considered for that 1, just put the 1. But list all that you want to be considered for.
Okay.
And you, again, rank them in the order, your preference order, the order that you want to be considered for them.
Okay. I love that advice that you gave about kind of making your list for yourself and putting your base school in there and that and thinking through it that way. And whatever comes lower than your base school, that shouldn't be on your magnet application.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. Don't put it, or lower than your private. And there are always changes that happen. You apply in October, something happens in November, and you need to change your rank. We are happy to help you make those changes. If you can't do it, sometimes the application is sticky. We can help you add a school, remove a school, change the rank. We can help you with all of that. Until the last day of the application, we can help you amend your application in any way.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I heard from that. Our first thing is to enroll. So basically put the intention that we are going to be attending Wake County Public Schools and go ahead and get that ID number. That's the most important thing.
Most important.
Then touring, which I think is a great, like you said, it's not a must, but it's going to help you figure out that ranking to figure
Yes.
out what you like a little bit more than other things. So
Right.
touring and having that information, and then doing the application, the actual going in, filling it out, ranking the schools,
Right.
submitting that. Did I get that right?
You got that all right.
Okay.
And I really want to encourage families to tour for a couple of reasons, but you want to see where the school is located. So most of our magnet schools are going to be centrally located in downtown Raleigh or kind of around the Beltline.
Yeah.
And so you want to be sure you know where the school is located. And for me, I want to feel the vibe. I want to feel the aura. I want to get in the building. I want to see what the children are doing. I think I know what entrepreneurial design means because I know the word entrepreneur and I know the word design. So I think I know. But you really want to get in that building and see, what does this look like? What are little kids doing? Entrepreneurial is a big word. What are little kids doing to demonstrate learning as an entrepreneur? So you really want to get in that building and see that theme in action and imagine your child in that setting. That's to me what's also going to make the difference. Like you mentioned, in ranking those schools, I can see my child here, or I want to see my child here, or this is not going to be the best setting
Hmm.
for my child. And so you really want to get in those schools and get a feel for what's going on.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
Okay, you also mentioned second round. What does that mean?
So second round is usually those magnet schools, and they tend to be newer themes. The schools may not be new because we tend to have magnets in older buildings, but the theme might be newer. So
Mhm.
sometimes those schools will have priority magnet seats, and I'll talk about priority and selection in just a sec, but round two schools are magnet schools that may still have available seating at various grade levels. That means they might have two second grade seats or three third grade or one fourth grade. Like it's very varied.
Mhm.
But we do share that information about these are schools that may still have seats. Most of my GT schools, the gifted and talented schools, are super popular and they get filled. Um, but sometimes even they will have a couple seats in a different grade and an off grade.
Mhm.
So you may see those schools on the list sometimes. But the schools on that list are ones that still have priority magnet seats available. And so when you're ready, I'll talk about selection process and how it kind of aligns with the purpose of magnets in the Wake County Public School System.
Okay. Um, when does that list of those second round seats, when does that come out? Is that after that first application period has closed and kind of everyone has gotten matched that are going to be matched, and then is that when that
That's
list?
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So after the initial selection is done, and you're right, everybody's kind of matched, and then we can look at where are there still slots,
Yeah.
and nobody on the applicant pool for that slot.
Okay.
And those are the schools that would be in round two.
Okay. Great.
Yes, yes.
All right. So why don't you tell us then about the selection
Okay.
process?
So I mentioned earlier about the purpose of magnets locally as well as nationally is typically to create a healthy and balanced student population in the magnet school. So if the magnet schools base population, and let me mention that all of our magnet schools, not the early colleges, but all of our magnet schools have a base attendance area. That means there are students who are assigned to those magnet schools based on where they live. If that base population comes from an area that's considered lower socioeconomic status or already have kids from low, then priority goes to kids from areas considered medium and high because I want kids from low, medium, high. I want a healthy, balanced student population in the magnet school.
Hmm.
So the magnet selection looks at the socioeconomic status of the area, not just subdivision, of the area that a student lives in, and we use census data for that, and the school that they're assigned to, again, using census data. Census data is used by lots of county agencies as they're making decisions. And so, as a county school system, we also use census data. Families can look up their level of priority. If their school and home address are medium or high, remember, I want a balance, that gives them a better chance to be selected. It does not guarantee selection, but it does give you a better chance because our goal is to create a balanced student population. And so we want more students from medium and high areas in those magnet schools. We've done that historically. We have used different characterizations or different items or to create that. And now we use census data. We've
Okay.
used free and reduced lunch in the past, and we've used academics in the past. Now we use census data. And so the seats that are still available for round two are priority magnet seats, meaning you have to qualify for priority for those seats. Having said that, all of our schools also have a number of seats that are filled just using a lottery. So every applicant has the opportunity to be selected. Every applicant might not be selected because typically there are more applicants than seats.
Hmm.
However, every applicant has the opportunity and can be selected because there are seats that just use a lottery to
Hmm.
be filled. Um,
Okay.
and so when families are considering their magnet schools, number one, there is a list of options based on the address. And so you would want to look up the options, magnet options for your address. You have access to every theme that we offer, but that theme might be in a different school depending on where you live. I live in Wake Forest, so the gifted and talented elementary school from my address is Hunter. If you live in Cary, your school might be Washington. If you live in the eastern part of the area, your school might be Zebulon. You still have the gifted and talented theme with all of the electives. They all pretty much run the same, but the school that is the option for your address might be different. Um,
Okay.
so families will want to look up the list of schools for their address, as well as considering their level of priority. And if they have a good chance to be selected, or a kind of an average chance to be selected, or a lower chance to be selected.
Okay. And just for all the listeners, I will put all these links in the show notes as well so that you can see the priority levels, you can see the magnet themes. So there'll be a bunch of links there so you can refer to all the wonderful things that Tamani is referencing for us.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question for you, Tamani, and I hope that I ask this in a coherent way. So let's say that there is a school, I'm just going to use very round numbers for the ease
Sure.
of my example. Let's say a school has 100 spots that are available through the magnet lottery.
Okay.
Um, if there are 50 people in priority level one, does that does that get exhausted first? Do all the priority level ones get in and then it moves on to priority level two, or is it something more complicated than that?
It's a little more complicated than that, only because it's also going to look at your ranking. If you ranked it first, but someone else ranked it second, and do they have
Mm.
a higher priority? So it's a little more
Okay.
complicated, but in the big scheme of things, yes, it's going to take the higher priority applicants first in general,
Okay.
and then kind of move down. But remember, it's looking at the ranking too, and that's what makes it a little more
Mm.
complex.
Okay.
Um, but I
That makes sense.
still encourage families really list them in the order you want to be considered for them.
Yeah.
Um, because, well, so new this year, any school you're not selected for, you're in the applicant pool for that school. Um, but I just still encourage parents really list them in the order that you want to be considered in the way you like those schools.
Okay.
And try not to do as much strategy, but really try to list them in the order that you want to be considered.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Which I think everybody wants to figure out a strategy, and I get that. But I try to encourage parents, don't just list them how you like them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Makes sense.
yes,
All right. So I want to give you the opportunity to, I know you deal with parent questions all the time. So I was wondering, do you have like maybe a couple of most common questions that you get asked related to magnet schools that maybe we could kind of clear up for once and for all here?
yes. So the one I mentioned earlier was, if I just list one school, will I get that one school?
Okay.
Not necessarily, because it's going to consider your level of priority.
Yeah.
Every school, almost every school has a different number of available seats. You used 100. There are some high schools that have those numbers. Elementary, I think maybe 65 is the biggest number of seats. So
Okay.
there are a lot of variations, and the algorithm is fairly complex. I don't write code. I tell them how I want it to work, and somebody else writes the code. But it's a fairly complex code. But what the code does not include is if I only will list one school, will I get that one school? It does not work that way. And that's
Yeah.
probably one of the biggest myths that I hear from families. The
Hmm.
algorithm does not say, if they list one school, assign them to that school. It doesn't do that.
Okay.
The other thing the algorithm does not do, it does not say, if they list five schools, give them at least one. It does not do that either. And so some people think, well, I listed five, I should get at
Mm.
least one. And I know it feels like I've listed as many as I could. Could you give me one of them?
Mm.
The algorithm does not do that either.
Yeah.
The algorithm really only looks at your level of priority, whether you are in a high area, medium area, low area, how many seats are available at that school, and just kind of lines you up. Let me mention, though, that if you are in an elementary magnet school and you got into that school through the magnet selection, then you can pretty much be guaranteed if you apply for the pathway school to get in.
Hmm.
So if you're at, I'll use my kids' schools. My kids went to Partnership
Okay.
Magnet Elementary. If you go to Partnership Magnet Elementary, your pathway school is Moore Square Magnet Middle. If you got into Partnership through Magnet, you have magnet status, and you apply for Moore Square, you should get in. You have magnet status, which is the highest priority, and you are asking for your pathway school, you should get in.
Hmm.
Magnet students at Moore Square have highest priority to Enloe. That's their pathway high school. So if you have magnet status at Moore Square and you apply for Enloe, you should get in. You're following your pathway and you have the highest priority behind siblings. You have the highest priority. So that's the only place where the algorithm kind of guarantees
Okay.
that you will continue. If you have magnet status and you ask for your pathway school at the next grade level and you list it as your first choice, then
Okay.
you should get in. Other than that, there are no real guarantees. So putting one doesn't guarantee, and putting five doesn't guarantee you.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you are in Moore Square and you request Broughton is not the pathway high school, you could get in, but there's no guarantee. So the algorithm guarantees a couple of things, but not a lot of things.
Hmm.
The rest is just how the algorithm progresses through those with highest priority, and then it kind of ticks down. So those are the myth busters I will
Yes.
share today. Is listing one doesn't really guarantee, and listing five doesn't guarantee.
Okay.
Um, the best years to be selected are kindergarten. That's when all of the magnet seats are open. Once those fill, most of those kids stay. I don't have many first grade seats or second grade seats. Or
Yeah.
sixth grade is the next year. That's when everybody's kind of maybe making some different decisions. So sixth
Hmm.
grade is the next best year, or going into sixth grade is the next best year. And then going into ninth grade is the next best year. So those entry grade years are the best or the better years to apply for a magnet school. When you aren't selected for sixth grade, it's difficult for seventh, because I might not have any seats in seventh or any. I just checked on a school today. They had no more seats in fourth grade. So if you're currently in third grade and you're like, oh, I really want to go to whatever school, it's going
Hmm.
to be difficult because they probably won't have any fourth grade seats. Everybody who got in at kinder stayed,
Right.
and there are no upper grade seats. So that's a challenge. That's a challenge you'll find in most schools, even in charter schools. Once they fill those seats, it's difficult to get upper grade seats because there are just no
Right.
seats open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think it's also, it sounds to me like it's important for parents to take kind of this like macro view of like the whole process. And I think that's
right,
important. An important reason why we were talking about where did magnet schools come from and what is their purpose? And
right,
you're talking about this kind of diverse, balanced district, really.
correct.
And so I think also when people are trying to kind of play the game of like, well, maybe I have better chances at this or that, the other thing you have to keep in mind is what everyone else is applying to and where everyone else is moving and are they from prior, and that's something that you're just never going to know, right?
You're
Like we
never,
don't, and it might fluctuate from year to year of
that's
we had
correct.
more sixth grade applications than we did seventh grade, whatever. And so I think your advice of like focus in on you and what your top priorities are for your child, and like that's the best you can do because there's so many external things with the algorithm and the priorities and that we're not going to know and have any control over.
That is so true. And I know people always want to share their great experiences. I love to share mine about partnership,
Hmm.
because my kids had a great experience at that school. That was a great place for my children. Um, that might not be the best fit for your child, which is
Hmm.
why I encourage people to tour and to think about, as you mentioned, what really is going to work for you and your family. The logistics behind the school is located here,
Hmm.
we live here, I work here. I
Yeah.
was fortunate that I have a more flexible job. My husband was a teacher for most of the time that he just retired last year.
Mm.
So for most of the time that my children were in school, my husband also had to be at a school at a certain time. He wasn't helpful with drop off.
Yeah.
And so I thought about, oh, I need a school that does this and this that's convenient for my commute, that I'm
Right.
the sole drop off person. So
Yep.
just all of the logistical things that you have to think about that other families are thinking about too, that are going into them making a decision. And you're not going to know everything. Some schools are super popular and they get lots of applications. Other schools are not as popular yet. I say yet
Mhm.
because usually those are my newer themes. And so they're not as popular yet. But then suddenly everybody hears about that school and they may have, I'm making this up, 50 applications their first year or their second year. But by their third year, they've got 100 applications and then 150 and so suddenly a school that maybe was not as popular 2 years ago has now become very popular and is
Mm.
getting more applications. So just understanding that some things are out of your control, like how many other people apply for that finite number of seats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I want to see if there are any challenges that you see that are facing magnet schools today, maybe on a broad level, or perhaps any misconceptions that you want to address for parents.
So I think in my time in magnets, the educational landscape has just changed so much. Families have so many more options. There's so many more charter schools. There are growing private schools. Um, I think in our area, privates had not been a big thing, but recently, as more people move to the area from areas that have larger numbers of private schools, they come thinking, well, yes, I'm just going to do private because that's what I've always done. And so the landscape, the competition for us is just different. I know that we have the best themes and the best teachers. I know that they're all academically based. I know that they are all academically good for kids. That's what I know. But sometimes all of that gets lost in the noise
Mm.
that's out there now, with all of the choices that are
Hmm.
available. All of my teachers are certified teachers. They're just things that you're going to find in a public school for different learners, for neurodivergent learners that you maybe are not going to find in some other areas. So I
Hmm.
know my schools are great places for all students. But sometimes I think that message just gets lost in the noise. So the
Hmm.
competition is different. Even though I know we have the best game in town, the competition
Hmm.
is different. But I'm always excited because we are always looking at what works best for kids. And perhaps the theme has outlived its time. Magnets used to be the only place to find technology.
Mm.
That those days are way over. But initially, if you wanted computers in schools, back in the 90s, you came to a magnet school. So we are constantly reinventing ourselves and looking at what are some new things that parents are looking for in school. And we are trying to accommodate those needs through our theme or through teacher training, through all of our offerings. We are trying to accommodate that. So, and, you know, up our competition game as well.
Yeah, I feel like, I work with a lot of parents, right, who are kind of in this game, if you will.
Yeah,
And I think there's just a big kind of fear of missing out, of feeling like, well, if there's all these options, these charter schools and magnet schools or, all these things, then
right,
it must mean that I need to like enter this rat race of like
right,
applying to all the things and it's like,
right,
well, not necessarily, right? And that's why I'm so big on let's talk about who your child is and who your family is. And if we get clear about those things, then that these things don't even make sense for us to be considering. It's
right.
really got to be an individual
It
process.
really does. And I tell people, I'm from a small county that did not have magnet schools. And I think I turned out okay. Uh, we didn't have that choice in Franklin County. We do now. My old high school is now a magnet high school. So that's great. But we have amazing non magnet schools in
Yeah.
our school system that parents should definitely look at. What's your base school? What if you get nothing else?
Mm-hmm.
What's the guaranteed school for your address?
Yeah.
Be sure to try to check that out. They don't always tour because they don't have the staffing, but hit that website, try to learn a little bit about your base school. And you're right, make a decision that works for your family.
Yeah.
I mentioned my commute issue or challenge that my husband and I made work, mainly me. But that we had to, as a family, look at the logistics of if my children attend a magnet school, how does that impact other things in my life or in our life, in our family's life? And can
Yeah.
we make that work? Can we sustain that? I know magnets are amazing places, but they've got to be able to work for your family.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, Tamani, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time and your wisdom. It's been so great just gleaning all of that from you. And I just really appreciate it.
I thank you for having me on. I'm happy for you to share my contact information with any families who need. Sometimes people just need talk through things. And I'm happy to help them think through. Now, I cannot tell you the best school because the best school is the one that's best for you and your
Right.
family and your child. But I can help families think about here's what it offers. What are you looking for? What is it that your family needs? And how can we support that need in the Wake County Public School System?
I love that. And also, Tamani, you usually run a couple of kind of webinar things a few times a year in the fall, and those are wonderful. So if anybody is thinking, oh, other ways to get the knowledge from her, those are also great. And she takes questions from the participants who are there. So
Yes.
that's another good resource too.
I take individual questions. We do third Thursdays virtually, so you can join from wherever you are and listen. You can put your questions in the chat. You can follow up later. There's a Calendly that you can schedule like a 20-minute session, and we can just talk about what you're looking for. I'm just happy to help people become aware
Yeah.
and think through what are the options available in the school system.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again. We
Thank you,
really
Sarah.
appreciate
I
it.
appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too.